Happy Wednesday. Welcome to 2ndLap, the podcast where we're taking life lessons and sort of best practices from walking the circumference of the earth and sharing them as I'm on the second time or second lap. Therefore the co-host can come on in because the jokes aren't going to get any better.
Super.
37,927 was the mile. So I wanted to make sure I said that out loud. But yeah, welcome, Ronnie.
Hello again. Our pre-show fist fight was compelling, so I hope we get into many different kind of discussions that you were talking about.
Yeah, no, I did what I wanted to do, just sort of to set the stage. And then when you cut this up later, this part won't be a part of it, anyways. But to set the stage, we're just catching up. It's Wednesday. It's April 22nd, I want to say.
Sounds right.
So
Yeah.
call it a third of the way through 2026. I want to catch up on things that Ronnie as a human has been doing, call it ice baths and taping ugly, gross stuff to the bottom of his feet and, all the hacks. He got some fashion advice from Thomas Magnum. You guys can laugh at that later. That was, it was funny to me in my head. And I'm actually, I needed one zinger or something,
We need a sound effect for it. I gotta work on that.
We need a sound effect.
A rim shot, like a but
Yeah, even if it's just something, call it analog. It doesn't even have to be digital. I thought we would catch up. So I've had lots of shows. We've talked through lots of things. You were on a pretty consistent basis doing the cold plunge, at least in a way that was allowing me to get cold with you. And I haven't seen it in a while. And I didn't know, are you still doing that? Are you sauning instead? What are you doing? What are you doing from the beginning of the year still?
Walking.
Walking.
To me, there was no requirement, no resolution. It was I've accepted the fact, and this is probably the second time talking to Gary, when I was asking, like, how do you stick with these things? And it's like, you deal with the waves of life as they come. And I'm not going to sit and guilt myself. The last plunge I did was beginning of February. So it's definitely been a while since I've done those. In my head, I want to get, like, as the temperature warms up, it's trickier, and I don't want to buy hundreds of bags of ice just to kind of keep the ice plunge going. So
right.
Yes, in my mind, I'm like, I'm not doing the things that I was doing on a consistent basis that were more pushing the boundaries of my body. I think I've kind of accepted, like, let's kind of focus on some other things at the moment, but still kind of maintain the walking. At least the last couple days, I've been like forcing myself to at least pick up some weights and do something, just because I sit there and walk past them every day, and it's like I need to me, that's the biggest guilt trip, is not like lifting my weights or going on my morning treadmill walks, but I also feel like I'm not stressing about it.
Sure.
So I'm a lot calmer in that sense. But to me, the walks have been like a non-negotiable. Like, to me, it's after I drop him off from school, I go do like my 2.5, 3 mile walk. I've tried to do them on the weekends now, so at least it's every single day I'm going out. But lately, I think the thing for me has been a lot of yard work, has been my like workout stuff. I've got the little weed thingy that like pulls up the dandelions, and like our yard was in a mess after we bought it. So
right.
Been a big kind of point of focus is like doing that for like an hour, and my arms and my back are definitely working. So to me, it's more of natural workouts versus kind of anything. But I think there's something in doing all the cold plunge and stuff. I would love to go and have the money to buy like a temperature controlled one to keep it right at like 40, 45 degrees versus kind of not letting the temperature outside dictate whatever the plunge is. And it's funny, I got a comment on TikTok from the ones I did 2 years ago about somebody who like fainted or had an issue when he got in, but yet he realized it was something that was beneficial. So it's weird still having people kind of talk about it. So at least I know it's out there for people that are wanting to get in the cold plunges. The algorithm in the feed is sharing some of those ones, whether it's the ones from this past year or from long ago.
That's
And they're getting engagement and people are commenting. So to me, it's helpful knowing that, to know that there's still some sort of impact on something that I did a while ago that people are still kind of seeing.
That's great. I want to bring us to the back and say, hey, I didn't like rip a band-aid or hopefully give you any guilt on it. I was curious just kind of where and what you were doing. I honestly don't want to ever get excited about a cold plunge. I've talked to so many people and the algorithm is feeding me what I'm wanting to see, which is sauna 10 out of 10, cold plunge 3 out of 10. Like it's forcing me to believe that what I believe is true. And so I'm actually thinking about joining one of these sauna places so I can go get some saunas in. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I don't want you to feel, I was just curious. I've seen some people that have, even like a Tony Robbins, where it feels like they're doing it religiously. And I don't know, for those kind of people, is there a long-term, health benefit that those guys, I mean, the 3 out of 10s, what are they actually really seeing? Because for me, all I saw was, man, it like emotionally for me, I was like,
Well,
okay, you know,
that's mental. As far as, I think it's more, and it's not saying that you're weak minded. I think it's much more in the, your brain is so afraid of the cold because of what it might feel like. And that's
right,
honestly, that's the, every time you start the first time, I have the exact same like worry about what it's going to do to my body. But I think as you do it, you start noticing, and whether it's a mental thing of like, if this is, I think we've talked about this before, if this is the worst part of my day, great. Like everything else from here on is going to be better than the minute and a half that I spent in 30-degree water.
right,
And, but on the physical side, I have definitely noticed more aches and pains since I stopped. And so that's where I think it does kind of calm inflammation. Anytime that you have any kind of ailment, like when I kind of popped my knee a little bit, iced it,
right,
and it got better. And so essentially the ice bath, it's icing your entire body. If you're tense and if you have the ability to get into a cold plunge, yes, you're going to have that tense and tightness, but as soon as you get out, your muscles are immediately going to relax. The blood flow is going to be better. So I
right,
definitely think there is a physical positive to it. But if you're mentally going into it thinking this is terrible, this is the worst thing, and you think it while you're in it, then yeah, it's going to be awful, and you're going to still have that tightness. Where to me, I think it's no different than taking a Tylenol. To me, it's an exact same parallel. It's going to have its benefits, but it also will have its negative impacts too. It's just a matter of what you mentally allow it to do. And so
right.
I think honestly, saunas are, it's hard. There's not really a negative that anybody is going to feel aside from, oh, that was hot and I sweated. Like there's not a negative output of going into the sauna. It's like you've dealt with 100 degrees or whatever it is when you go outside in Texas or
Right.
Mexico or whatever it might be. So you're not you're not jumping in a cold river like Bear Grylls, like on a daily basis. That's just not a part of normal human life. And so that's where I think there's contrasting things. I'm also in a cold weather climate. So I
Right.
deal with cold weather a little bit better than somebody that's down in the South. Like that's, to you, 20 degrees sounds awful. To me, that sounds bearable. And this is something I'm not afraid of going outside in a sweatshirt in. So I
I
think,
moved here to be specifically not in 20 degrees. Like it
yeah,
was intentional. So, and you're right. The problem is I live in a northern part of the state, so it does get cold and like it's been variable enough that I've had to wear pants a couple of times in the last weeks. And I know. And I've seen you and you're bundled up and I'm like, yeah, he's freezing his ass off. And I'm
But I'm not. Like,
I'm
it's
complaining
being
because
weird.
I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah, to me, it's if you have the right I hear people complain about it up here, and it drives me nuts. Of like, oh, it's so freezing. You're wearing yoga pants, lady. Of course it's freezing. It's 30 degrees. Like, put some jeans on or something over that. So to me, it's just being smart about what you wear when you go out and layer. I've got a bunch of Under Armour stuff, so I'm hot on those like -10 walks where I get out and I'm like, get this stuff off of me because it's like, yeah, I'm prepared. And granted, whether it's military or whatever, it's like you be prepared for the conditions that you're in, so then it's not miserable. And it's not like, yeah, my face might look cold because yeah, that's the only part that's exposed, but
Right.
it's just be smart and be sensible about your attire when you go outside when it is 10 degrees out. So that's, I think, the biggest thing. And then you just don't complain. I'm positive. I'm outside, cold air. Like, to me, it's just like, again, we've talked about this over and over. It's just having the right mindset when you're going out in it. And I've had neighbors now like, walking must be pretty important to you if you're out in it in that cold weather. I'm like, yeah, it is. To me, it's more important than the cold.
It is so funny you saying that. I've had probably a dozen people over the years because of my walking and my consistency and where I go, where they will do that. They'll pull me aside and they'll be like, walking seems pretty important to you. Like, what, sell me some life insurance, son. Kind of that feeling. And it's like, well, it is important to me, and this is why I do it. And to your point, so what I was gonna say is another thing I think would be helpful, and we could use for future is why are we doing this? Like I'm giving you 50% credit for this. Why are we even doing this endeavor? Like, what is it that sparks and gets us excited to go live on three different and copy a key and move things around and cut and copy and work 7 days a week? Why are we doing this?
I think that's a good question. It's funny you mentioned that. Like, at least for me, the journey within this last couple of days has been kind of surreal for me just because I think I had like a reset, a refocus on what's important to me. And so,
Okay.
at least for me, whenever I kind of feel that twinge, I always go back to and listen to like Think and Grow Rich. And so, one of the things that, like, the secret to the book is that you become what you wish to be. And so for me, I think something that I've always internally have wanted to be, or I've told people because I want to walk and I want to be healthy and I want to live to 125. My end goal is to be a wildlife photographer who does podcasts, and like that's the way I bring in income, and I've had multiple business streams and stuff down the road. And so for me, I'm envisioning myself being that 115-year-old who is talking to a younger generation about the experiences and the things I think would help them health wise, life wise, whatever it might be. And I have to be that person now in order to be that future person. So it's no different, like you said, like walking is pretty important to me. Like, yeah, so is the 95-year-old version of myself is pretty important to me. I wanted to make sure that I'm active and mobile and be agile when I'm that age versus in a wheelchair, in a home, having somebody help me to go to the bathroom. I don't want that. I want to fall over in my cabin when I'm 125, looking at some bird, and I just fall over in the woods. Like, that is my dream scenario of how this goes. And so that this is a step in that process. And so going back to like the Think and Grow Rich, it's like I've now printed off and have like the 6 steps in the first chapter of like what you're supposed to do as far as recite and repeat and get your brain on the right frequency vibration. We can go down a whole nother rabbit hole with that as far as this is what I want to be. I want to be a podcast producer, a podcast guest, whatever it might be, when I'm 70, 80, and have that be my way of giving back because I've done all of these other things. And so, but the immediate reason I think that I enjoy managing these things, and because it's something that I'm good at as far as editing videos, kind of problem solving the different accounts and all of that stuff. The
Right.
biggest give back to me has been watching other people on the 2ndLap feed on Instagram or TikTok and seeing these people that are older than me changing their life and like just starting walking, starting working out, eating healthy. And it's like, why am I not doing that now? It's like, oh, I wish I was doing this at 23 versus 43. And so, but I'm not 63. So I think kind of setting myself up and kind of having that compounding effect of like these good habits, even if it's not cold plunges or doing different things, but it's making sure I'm eating healthy, trying to limit my meals to 2, and fixing my snacks in a way so that I'm not eating processed foods and trying to eat more fermented foods and stuff like that. So I
Right.
think it's having these building blocks that I'm learning that I'm, to me, the whatever I'm getting back has been so instrumental in how I'm seeing myself build a better version of myself as I continue to grow, that this is kind of the byproduct and the things that I want to do to help. And if I can do
Right.
this for more people, and it's like this is the why. I think for me I get excited about it just because it's I've my core is I want to help people. I want to educate them, not in a way that's like demeaning and talking down to people, but kind of joining in. Let's do this together. And that's kind of what I feel like we've done as far as just learning about these different things, implementing, questioning smart people and the people that you've talked to, like rewatching and doing the clips, because I'm editing the clips and going through,
Right.
and I feel like I'm getting more out of it than you, because you have one conversation with them where I'm like watching the podcast, editing the clips. So I'm getting like 2 or 3 times more out of this because I'm hearing these things more. So that to me, it's like, haha, I'm getting more out of it than you in my own way. But I know you're benefiting from this too.
I appreciate all of that. I'm going to echo that. Mine isn't 125. I don't ever want to have to be reliant on a nurse or my spouse or anybody to help me when it comes to things like going to the bathroom. When you said that, it just like struck a nerve. Like, no, that's like my own private place. And I just always want to go in there to be by myself.
Yeah.
So my goal is to, and my mission statement says I want to be surfing at 80, and it also says I don't want to be on an oxygen tank. So I'm addressing the positive and I'm shooing off the bad guys with it. And so yes, I'm walking by a fire training station, so there's noise. I apologize. I feel that it is almost a duty to, and I use words like shepherd. I use, words like wisdom. I don't use these things lightly. I use them as, hey, I feel like we have, multiple bruises on our shins and scars in places and have experienced enough that we're sharing. I don't want to say it's like best practices, and I want to say we're, trying to validate your parents, because I don't know what your parents are telling you either. I don't know what their motivation is. Our motivation is to make sure that you sort of, I mean, just boil it down to like you have the information. They tell you you can take a horse to water, you can lead a horse to water, whatever the right saying is, but it's got to decide to drink. So we give access to people, we have conversations, and we discuss things that I think give people kind of a leg up or an opportunity to learn from some of the things that we've experienced.
No, I think that's, at least as a parent, I, as I've told Jack many times, my goal in life is to hopefully eliminate as many of the issues or problems or the mistakes that I made so that he doesn't make them. But also realizing, because this is a whole new world, and like we were talking about with AI, there's so many new mistakes that he's going to make. And I
Right.
just have to make sure that he's set up to be able to handle those in a positive manner. And I think that's also part of what we were trying to kind of get across is, like we've talked about so many times, having the mental strength, mental toughness, like just being able to work through a problem and not get overwhelmed by it, but also know that you're not going to be perfect. Like
Right.
that's one of the things I think I posted today or yesterday was about understanding and being okay with being uncomfortable. There's too many people that sit in their comfort zone and they're just going to be like, well, this works for me, so this is all I'm going to do, versus like treading out onto a path that they don't know, whether it's entrepreneurship, a new relationship, whatever it might be. It's okay. And that's where you grow, when you're uncomfortable about your situation and you don't know what's going to happen and you might fail, and that's okay. It's getting yourself back up, learning from it, trying it again, or trying something slightly different. And I think that's something that a lot of our guests have brought to the table, whether it's running 200 miles or hiking a mountain or just starting a business, whatever it might be. I think there's so many different pieces that we can take from. It's like you have to go out on that ledge to kind of figure out who you really are.
Yeah, I don't want to take lessons away per se. Like I'm okay if you get a couple of scratches. Like I'm okay if, life teaches you that the stove is hot. Like I want you to learn some of those without me, but I guess the purpose of this is I want the ones that could either maim you, you lose a digit, or you possibly die. I mean, those kind of ones I would like to not have you learn that way. At the same time, oh God, there was an article and I can't remember who put it out, and I just read it, and I think Brian sent it to me. Guest Brian. Brian, shout out. I'm giving you a shout out. I do actually read what you send me. But it was basically like an article that talked about, and I think you're in the group because it's an age group before everybody had a phone and everybody had some way to be in technology. It was, just the age of I'll be home for dinner. And you went out and you learned, and I think, as I paraphrase what the conversation the comment was, we learned how to negotiate. We learned how to get along. We learned how to figure things out. We learned how, I don't want to say, you know, got good at being in a group, but we learned from being exposed. And I think a lot of that exposure, and I'm saying that, and I'm not saying exposure like a guy with a big jacket, but we got exposed. I know I was trying to get a zinger in there. We got exposed to things because we were allowed to go out and do that, and it's like we've helicopter parented and tightened it down to where nobody gets to get scratches anymore. So,
Yeah. No, it's
anyways,
no, it falls in line with at least like a parenting method of like, you can't step in when your child is doing something slightly dangerous, whether it's like climbing the jungle gym or doing like, you can't be there like, I got you, baby, I got you. Like,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
going to be, you have to step back and at least like let them, like you said, obviously, if they're going to jump into a bonfire, you're going to stop them, or
right,
something like ridiculously stupid where you're like, yeah, you're going to maim your, don't walk out in traffic. But
right.
I think when you're roughhousing, or at least like with Jack, like he's the other boys and stuff, it's like you have to kind of understand that dynamic that, oh, this, you punch somebody, you're going to get hit back, or there's going to be some sort of like,
Response. There's going to be a
yeah,
response.
yeah, there's going to have that kind of, you have to understand the dynamic of every situation versus a parent like kind of walking you through and like and doing all of that. And so yeah, I think people aren't growing up on the phone or worried about like somebody filming them dancing. Like, God forbid that if anybody saw what I did pre 2000, like was recording me, I probably wouldn't have been as kind of boisterous or whatever it might be, because I was like worried that someone was going to film this. And I think that
Right.
as soon as that cell phone came out where people could record everything, everybody, it's funny watching the clips I see of like when people in high school not on their phones, and you see like the 1997, like here's high school, what it was before anything. And yeah, it's been different. I think even then, and I've talked about it with Jack, like we're not going to have social media, and chances are he's not going to have a phone. And to me, it's like, I keep telling him, you're going to be cooler because you don't have social, because not everybody's going to know what you're doing all the time. And so, yes, you have a hashtag, and that's going to be it for now. Like if you're going to be the mysterious kid that everybody's curious about, because you're not going to have all these things. And so
Right.
to me, it's like, he's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And it's like, he's buying it for now. We'll see how long it lasts. But as soon as all of his friends have all of that, but I think that's what I'm trying to instill is like, hey, be off the grid a little bit, or off the net, and not have this container around you that like you need to worry about. And we've talked about like the kids are so worried about what other people say from some other country or some other state. So they're going to get depressed, and it's like, I don't want that for you. Like, yeah, if you're mad about your buddy down the street because you guys had an issue, let's talk that out. But I don't want you to be worried about because you posted a picture that someone in California like said, oh, that's dumb and stupid, and then you're mad about it or upset. It's like, we're not having that. So I think that's kind of goes in hand with what you're saying, as far as just, we didn't have that. Like there was nobody in some other place like ripping on us. Like that was It was in front of us that we had to deal with, that was ripping on us, and we had to deal with that directly versus kind of, oh, they said this on my phone.
We had to face deal with it. You know, you took your licks, as my grandpa would say. You know, you had to deal with the situation. You learned to negotiate. Like I found I used this one for years. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Like I would talk my way out of all of them, because I'm like, nothing's gonna come from violence. Like I don't want to hurt you, and I know you don't want to hurt me. Really, you just feel like it now. But we don't have that anymore. That was the point of the article Brian sent to me. Is like it's just not there, and it's interesting to see how are they going to gain this.
No, so. And at least this is, maybe it's a good segue for anything that you wanted to ask. I just saw something new because Jack is a part of Generation Alpha. And so and the one thing I saw, and I was like, I can't believe there's already a new one, Generation Beta. Everything it starts 2025. If you were born in 2025 or later, now everything that child is going to have access to, AI will be implemented into it. And so it's not just the tech, but the fact that the children growing up now are, everything that they touch, there's going to be some sort of aspect of AI included in it. And that's just what they're going to know. Like we had Encyclopedia Britannica. Like that was the knowledge base.
It took up 4 shelves on. It took up 4 shelves on the bookshelf. Remember that? And every year you got an update.
Grab the giant H book and go through and find whatever it was about. And now phones, computers, like everything, our freaking refrigerator has an AI on it. And so it's crazy that those kids are going to know nothing but there's a all-knowing entity that can tell them whatever they want about anything and help them get through stuff that's available to them on everything. And so
I have 2 grandsons that were born in the last 24 months, and I would almost put them as right on the edge. Like they're going to be like, do I identify with the other grandchildren, or do I go with grandchild 11 and later and be with this group? It just it feels like B. Like I think I was right on the edge of one. I can't remember what.
I'm in between X and millennial. I think I'm 82. Okay. And so it's right in between. I think I identified with Generation X just because it was stuff I was watching maybe when I was preteen and they were teenagers. Right. And then I'm like, well, whatever the defined year. I think it's like millennials is 80 or something. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm technically a millennial. I did graduate in 2000, so that's kind of maybe very atypical of what a millennial would be. 18 in 2000. So that's where but yes, I think I was very old school. I talked about it in one post. I was 12 when I saw an email for the first time.
Wow.
I had a Tandy 1000 that there was no computer or internet to go and learn how to like get into this to understand it. So I'm sitting there mashing keys, and that's again, there's no easy button. I had to go and figure this out. How many .exes that I have to put in order to execute a certain prompt in order to get something. And so that's where I think there's this divergent of like, we had to learn things the hard way versus, hey Siri, what's this? And it just automatically tells me whatever I needed to know. I hope she doesn't talk all of a sudden.
I was gonna say, it's interesting. And I do remember life before email. I do. Back to why we're doing this. We've lived through not having email. We've lived through, what computers have meant to us to now to carrying, one that's more powerful than my first PC in my back pocket all the time. And, to hit on a couple of things you talk about, I mean, when we go and we walk the dog, I've talked about it with me. My bride is doing the same thing. We don't two-time on the dog. We leave the dog with us and we leave the phones home. And I only say this that we go for, call it a 5.5 minute walk to just get her dinner meal moving. And Ronnie, I would say there's not a single night where one of us doesn't reach for the phone while we're walking the 4 minutes to try and get an answer to one of the things we're talking about in the conversation. Like we're immediately, I would tell you that I'm using the side button on my phone where I push it and it goes to Chat GPT and I ask it a question and then it goes and it gives me the long-winded answer like every day now. Like it's just the way it is. And I guess I say all that at the detriment that I miss the Britannica days. I miss having to go look it up. And we're so trained now to just do that I like that when I do a 5-minute walk and being reminded that I'm dependent on this stupid technology I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think that's something I'm trying my best to focus a little harder. Like we were laughing before the show, I had Claude like essentially create me a calendar and break down the day. I already had segments set out, but I didn't feel like I was focusing as much as I should on set things because I would end up just grabbing my phone. I've turned off all of my notifications just because I kept grabbing it every time I'd see a little red mark, or I'm making sure I have it face down now. But even then, as soon as I get a thought, and being in marketing, it's like I'm supposed to go and post things on social. And I was just talking about this with a customer yesterday. It's like I'll go in thinking like I need to post. I just made a video. Let me go in there and post. And all of a sudden I realize it's been 10 minutes of scrolling. And I'm like, oh, I was supposed to do this. And so, and then it's like, that's so much wasted time. And it might just be 2 or 3 minutes at a time. But I'm like, I wasn't meaning to do this. And so now I've like breakfast time, I listen to audiobooks. I'm forcing myself to kind of segment this time. And instead of sitting there scrolling and looking at Insta, it's like, I want to listen to, like right now I'm alternating between The Alchemist and Think and Grow Rich. And I've got like 5 or 6 now on deck ready to go. But also having targeted time of focusing on 2ndLap and some of these other things outside of my iMagnet and regular marketing work. And at least like, all right, this hour is set aside for this work. Let's focus on this for right now. And so, but one of the things at the end of the night is I want to do more research, no different than grabbing for that encyclopedia on some of these things that I have found on social that I'm usually thirsting for more information down different rabbit holes. but it's so sporadic as you're looking. It's like, okay, vibration, frequency, like health, like it kind of bounces instead of me focusing on one, like actually going onto the internet and like going on Google or listening to an audiobook or a podcast about a specific topic, like taking that time where I was just kind of sitting there wasting. This is again where I've talked about, like, I think AI as a tool is super beneficial in order to kind of break things down. Yes, it can be, as long as you're doing something human from what the AI has like suggested, hey, these are different things that you should do, versus just like blindly being like, well, AI's got this, I'm going to have it take over my computer to do different things. It's
You're justifying why it's okay for you to be using the device that's taking over your life. And I understand it. I'm doing the same thing. I think that when I see I'm averaging 7.5 hours of screen time a week daily, that I know I'm using it, I'm justifying, hey, I'm listening to Audible, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm doing my own podcast. Most of this and all of this, I think, adds into this time. So I'm giving myself leniency. At the same time, I'm using the device 8 hours a day. Like, most people aren't sleeping that amount. And I'm holding on to this, I'm going to guess what, 5.5-inch disc, and I'm talking to it and I'm communicating it. It's scary because at the same time, I'm a part of like all of these communities. We talked about this kind of briefly, but all these communities that kind of the light in the dark. A lot of the times I'm saying good morning, I'm, participating, whatever. And so I'm giving myself permission to be on this device more than I'm comfortable with because of what I'm getting or giving on the other side. And I'm telling myself someday soon, I'm going to not do it so much. Like I'm going to either have, I don't know, how many hours of library of clips of us talking to people do we need before we don't need any new ones? Couple more years?
Yeah, that's a
couple years, okay? Couple years from now, we generate, and I think with, I'm gonna call your buddy Claude because I don't want to insult Claude because you guys are so tight and close. And everybody that watched Ronnie's eyes roll like that, that's like when you're like talking to your buddy and he's excited about the girl, but he doesn't want you to make fun of him because he likes the girl.
You can make fun of me all you want. I think it's been helpful.
I'm not making fun of you. I'm trying to be funny. But I've done so much trying to be funny that I've forgotten my whole point of why I was giving you a hard time about Claude. But
the boyfriend girl, like I think we were talking about it just earlier too. I think I'm not trying to justify I'm aware, and my like daily use count is more than yours. Sadly, I think I've gotten it where it's almost been double digits, where it's been like 10 hours this week you've been on your phone, and I'm like, okay. That, I think, when it's scrolling social media, yes, that is a problem. I think you're using your technology in order to have human connections. That's where I think it kind of X's itself out. Where, yes, if you're just sitting there consuming a like video thing, algorithm that's set up to make you an addict on it, and that's the thing too. It's like, I'm aware that the things that I'm doing they're trying to get me addicted. No different than, and granted, this might be a risque topic, like food is an addiction. Like our phones are an addiction. Coffee is an addiction. I think there's so many different pieces to that. And having the understanding, the awareness that that I have this addiction. I think you guys, not saying it was something that you specifically talked about when you go into the farm, but being aware of it is the first step. I think with any kind of thing, it's like knowing, not sitting there blindly saying, oh, it's fine, like this is normal, this is what everybody does, but like looking at it and being like, it might not be a problem for my day-to-day life or how I'm talking with other people or my parenting or being a husband, but being aware that this is, like you said, at least we get these alerts and let us know, hey, you've been on your phone over 7 hours every day for the last week, like just something to think about, and
Right.
thinking, oh, that's nothing, but also having the like, well, I wasn't talking to anybody. I was only on TikTok and Instagram and X. Like, then it might be an issue that you should look at about cutting back a little bit. Or if it's like, I've been watching shows or whatever, it's to me, I'm editing videos, I'm having email conversations. So to me, like there's other pieces to it. It's generating me an income versus like
I'm going to ask you a question. I hate to interrupt you, but I want to ask you a question. What do you think you would classify like the jackass DM? Like, is that mindless scrolling, or does that fall into the category of three dudes making fun and joking about doofusy stuff that we see, and we're sharing it and we're putting little commentary? I put it as I'm communicating with the two of you. Like, I feel like we're having a conversation, as opposed to I'm just doom scrolling, but yet I'm getting the material that I'm sharing with you through the act of scrolling. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're blending both sides again.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think having that thought process is a part of all of this. Because it's like, and how many of those conversations are you having on a daily basis? I think we can still accomplish some of those, because I probably say 6 people or 6 chat groups that I'm daily posting in or communicating with or reading their stuff, whether it's basketball stuff to my one buddy or
Right.
kind of conspiracy theories with another friend, or kind of the jackassery stuff that you talked about with us. And I've got probably like 2 or 3 of those and I think one, yes, I think searching for those, I think part of our thought process of doing the scrolling is I want to find something for my brother-in-law that's funny, or for my buddy Zach that's funny, or for you guys that I find entertaining, or basketball clips for Bobby. And so I think limiting the amount of time that I'm just scrolling versus kind of that communication like we've talked about before, of whether it's bonding or connecting, whatever you want to call it, with those friends. And it's funny, my other buddy was like, how often are you and Zach texting? I'm like, it's about 10 memes a day that we're sending back and forth. And it's like, that's all, we're not talking, I think, but we're talking.
Communicating though.
Yeah, I'm giving him humor. I'm hoping to lighten his day in a way with some of these. And so that's where, to me, it does blend that kind of, it's an amoeba-ish kind of like communication style. But to me, it's not something where I'm like gonna justify being on 9 hours on my phone on Instagram or TikTok just because I spent and sent out 10 things to my friend that maybe all encompass, even if they watched the full 3 minutes, was all of 35 minutes of content that I shared that day, to justify the other 7.5 hours. That's where it's like, I think you have to have that balance and segment, like, okay, there's an hour in the morning, my bathroom breaks, and maybe an hour and a half at night. And all of that combined is like 3 hours of scrolling and sharing. Because how much does it take to hit that little airplane button and send it to people? It takes all of 2 seconds to send something you found funny, but yet we're still scrolling and looking for more. But to me, that's, I think, the ongoing question that we're all going to have is like, what's okay as far as the time spent on our phones on those social applications. But again, this is something I don't want do you want your kids wasting time when they could be out running around outside? Or to me, that's where it's like, what would you want someone else that you care about? Do you want them doing the same amount of searching and stuff? Yes, it might be something sent to you, but if it's somebody that you truly care about, you want them experiencing the world and learning from it versus just scrolling. And so that's hard to justify sometimes when it's like, well, this is funny. Like, it entertained me. It educated me. It made me think about something, or well, this is a topic to talk about with the wife. But it's like, yeah, that's good, but is it something that you're actually doing in the real world?
The stuff for the wife is usually recipes, and we do eat them, as long as we both like them. So I guess I'm giving you more justification. I can
I don't
find
eat
a
it.
lot of no, I know you don't. And I guess I'm saying it for our audience. There is a lot of positive that can come from communication. I think we do communicate through memes. I think, sending, and when I receive those, especially from call it, maybe it's one of my children that I've never not been real connected to for a while, and all of a sudden I get a group of, these videos or things to watch. I feel like, oh, they were thinking about me. Like it does a positive thing for me. So I'm never going to justify the fact that 8 hours or 1/3 of the day I was holding and looking at my hand. I've seen the art where they pull the phone out and they have all the people just looking at their hands these days. And I'm using that as a way to try and not do it. So, lesson children, young adults, old adults, people that want to have new relationships, leave your device upside down, as Ronnie said, so you can't see the alerts, and walk away from it from time to time. Nobody needs to get in touch with you so badly that you can't be away for an hour. Literally. We did it as children and as young adults for hours on I mean, I would go to the ski resort at 8 in the morning and I'd come home at 8 at night, and I wouldn't have a communication with a single person except for the guy next to me skiing all flipping day. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Like,
Yeah.
so you
No, I
don't need your phone for an hour. That's what I guess my point is.
no, I to me, and granted, this I don't know, it's hypocritical of me to say because you're doing it, but I sit there on my walks in the morning. It's at least today I like recorded the video. Usually I'm like, I'll record the video, put it back in my pocket. I don't want to try to do it. But today I was like, all right, let me record it, let me post it on Instagram, and like half the walk was done. And like I missed out on like seeing the whole point of my walk is to get outside in nature. And I don't want to like there's stroller moms or something where they're pushing the stroller and they're just staring at the phone the whole time and they're out there walking. Yes, it checks the box of exercising, but I think like having this in our hand is going to, I don't want to say stress us out, but it adds the pressure of the day on us. And that to me, it's, I want, when I go on the walk, it's to reset. Yes, I have it with me in case somebody calls, it kind of anti your point you just made. Like I'm available if my mom like wants to
Right.
give me a call or whatever it might be. I don't want to miss that, but I also am not like actively just staring at it like, oh, I need to know what's going on in the news or what's on Twitter or whatever is going on. It's in my pocket. It's there for an emergency. If a
Right.
client calls me because I'm essentially on the clock at 8 o'clock, like if they feel the need to call me in the morning, I'm available for them. But for the most part, I just want to stare at the birds, look at the water, and kind of reset and calm myself, whatever it might be. And today I kind of took that away from myself by like, all right, let me type in the prompt or the text that goes into this. Do I want to, let me edit it this? Is the captions correct? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm already like halfway done with this. Like I've missed
Right.
last 15 minutes when I thought it was only going to be 3 or 4. And so that's to me, it's like, what is your why are you doing it? I think back to your original question, it's like, why are you going for the walk? Is it just to check a box because you feel the pressure to look good or to lose weight, or is it to kind of be calm, relax? Like that's what a walk is supposed to help with. Like it's all of the pieces that kind of go into it of going for a walk is to calm your mind, not add to it while you're out there. And so I think that's a big part of at
I do
least
both. I
thinking
do
what
both.
you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that's
because I
you're out
consume.
there for 8 miles a day. And I think that's you could be walking for 2 miles and be productive and then still have 6 miles left to kind of calm and reset. So that's a bit different than the normal person that maybe only goes
I
out for an
knew I knew that's where you were going to focus, and then so I was like, do I even throw this piece of meat out in front of the lion? Because you know he's going to bite it. You know he's going to go get it. Like, I feel you. I'm sitting here on the side of the road on my device, and I'm giving the time to our audience and giving time to the material. And at the same time, when I'm done, I will put it in my back pocket and I'll finish my walk.
Well, this is more like a telephone call. This is a FaceTime more than anything. Granted, it's a FaceTime for you with 18 other people. We have 17 people watching. Hello, everyone. And that, to me, you're not sitting there doom scrolling. You're not like trying to catch up on the news of the day. And I think this part is X'd out. I think you're having a direct communication with me. And I think other people are taking from it what they want from it, just as far as a connection piece. No shade on them for essentially being.
Please watch. Please don't leave. Yeah, keep watching.
So I think that's a part of it too. It's just we're all having this connection point with each other of trying to learn from somebody else. It's more, maybe it's a seminar that we kind of are putting on. That at least that's what I'm going to tell myself, that of bettering yourself in some sort of way, or talking about the things that aren't talked about or as much as they probably should be. And so that's, I think, the thing that we're at least kind of getting across. I don't know if you muted on purpose, if there was a big truck, but I figured I'd stall.
I
don't hear it.
Oh,
no,
really? It's amazing. I never know what the magic of Apple sound cancellation is going to do. I sometimes have people tell me they can hear the birds outside better than they can hear me talking. And then I have a fire truck go by and you can't hear it. Here's the worst one. When I'm talking to my 2-year-old grandson, he can hear me if I'm talking. But if I go, did you hear that?
I caught the beginning of it, but then it went away.
Yeah, I made the sound of a pig. Like if I make animal sounds with my grandson, he can't hear them because the noise cancellation thinks it's something other than me. It's so weird. I don't know why. I just felt like I had to share that with you. Yes, I think we are taking people to school. I think there's a lot of positive things that us doing this brings. And I'm going to bring us in for landing because I think I'm at the right spot where I usually lose you with the coverage. Thank you for watching. Those, if the 17 people are here, I really do appreciate you watching. If you have questions, we're always open to try and answer. I know sometimes we flash things up on the screen, but we're happy to answer any questions you might have, and we're excited to be live in the middle of the metaverse.
Yeah, the simulation.
For the topic for next time, the simulation and what does it mean?
Oh, I've got plenty of rabbit holes that we can jump down, that who knows if we'll have people listen or not.
It'll be good for us to talk about. No, I appreciate you. Happy Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. All those watching, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. See you guys next time.
Check
the clips.